Good morning. We are going to here continue the session on nature of the linguistic science. Second lecture it is. Last class we have finished off regarding the meanings, how meanings are evolved, or how some new concepts. Actually, we didn't think, or we do not often think, and the new concepts regarding achieving meanings, or the different characteristics of our giving meanings, using meanings, finding out meanings. That's it. That portion comprises the first part of this essay. The major point of this essay is this. Meanings we give to first point was about arbitrariness, and that is the major concept of social. Yeah, it was something new during that time, because no one thought about this arbitrariness, and we gave a lot of examples. We took a lot of examples, like why a pen is a pen, why it is not a chair. So we do not have an inherent connection between word and the thing object that represents it, but still we make it as a rule, as a means of convention. By convention we admit that this is the way we have to. So that is the mode of our getting meaning in one. So meaning, or the words we select, and that was the first point. And next one was relational, how it is with us. Then we told about the binary oppositions, male, female, how one is related to other, or one's meaning can be related to the other, or can be derived from one particular characteristic or anything. Okay. So then the other one was about, three main points I gave you, and relational and constitutional. Constitutional was the third point. What do you mean by constitutional? With the main example was with Bhagat Singh as a freedom fighter for Indians, and the terrorist for the Britishers. So there is nothing like fixed labeling. Nothing is possible. Okay, as a person you cannot. It's merely a choice. So this is the way we have meanings, the difference, the fluidity. All this we have been talking about. Fluidity of meaning is it's not even structuralist concept, It is in post-structuralism we talk about there is no one particular meaning for a text. But here it is about the way we can move in a meaning, the getting meaning. We have different options, we have to think in terms of these differences. So it's in-depth analysis it is. Meaning, we normally talk about, what is the meaning of the term? We have a meaning. Sometimes it is from a dictionary, the first meaning we opt for. One word may have more than one or two meanings, but we usually opt for the very common meaning that we get. Here he talks about how it is fluid, how it can vary, or even how it is just attributed on how meanings are attributed to certain words, and apart from ornomative. See, these three concepts are the major that comprise the major part of this essay. Next, today's session we are going to talk about theories of representation. If you see this essay organized in this way, it is nothing much. It will be easy, or it's just about it's almost the approach is a scientific kind. Once you get the description, you may feel like an estranged feeling may be there. It's not the usual way of giving things in a very paragraph-like manner, but this is almost like sections. The essay also was like, first one part talks about a different matter, another part you may feel like entirely different discussion, but still as a whole you please know this is nature of the linguistic science, how language works. Not just English, but any language, how the system works we can identify from this. So arbitrariness of linguistics, or arbitrariness of a word and a meaning. So it's not inherently connected. It's not just with English. Malayalam also. Pena. Maram. We do not have any connection as such. Cuckoo, onomatopic connection. There is no inherent connection, but we use the word as a means of convention. So in the same with the case of Hindi, Tamil, whichever language it may be, these are applicable. So that's why linguistic, language as a whole. He is not very particular about English language. We are talking in the context of English, so we take examples from English. That's all. Okay, even the essay, as I told you. So French terms are the examples are also like that, but we have the English version translation. That's all. So today's topic, I told you, it is theories of representation. Let me tell you what does he mean by it's a big way we organize that essay. You cannot see these divisions, but how we can organize things in this way, and it will be easy for your understanding. That's all. To represent something is to describe or depict it. Representing something. So you talk about class representative. What does the person do? Or what the person is supposed to do? You are representing the whole class. The whole class is having an opinion, and that particular student, after a discussion, goes and represents the whole class. Sometimes, when a common meeting for the decision of a campus is told, two or three of you only go, and you call yourself the representative of that particular class. For example, once you are in first year BA, one person goes for a meeting, and the person's opinion becomes that of the whole class. That is what you mean doing representation. So here you take it in the context of meaning, and you say to represent something is to describe or depict it. But that also is another. Let's say to representing, it's almost like describing or depicting it. When you raise your opinion on behalf, when you represent a class and raise your opinion in a meeting, so that you, in one way or other, you are describing or depicting. Now you come to the context of meaning and word representing one another. So there's to call it up in mind. We have a word. We have a word, and it is about an object. So it's about a representation. Obviously, that word and the concept related with that comes to your mind immediately. Okay, so it's about mind, the description or portrayal of or imagination to place a linear of it before us. What do I mean by that? To place a linear of it. That means the straight meaning, the straight idea that comes to your mind once you hear a word. So of course that word is representing something, some idea that comes to our mind. If you are aware of that term, the meaning, then of course it is a kind of representation. In our mind or in the senses, it creates a representation, at least an idea. If you know the meaning of a word when you hear, so that is again a case of representation. Not just a student representing a class. That is the idea that I gave for you, because to make you understand the concept of representation. Once you take it into the realm of words, meanings and ideas getting represented, then also a kind of representation happens. Yeah, when I tell you tree, of course an idea comes to you, so that the word is obviously representing something. Even though first BA English class is whole class is not there in the meeting, when student when talks on their behalf, represents the whole class, an idea of the class of course comes there. So you can connect between these two. Okay. So to represent, that means in one way it is to symbolize, to stand for. Of course that term makes it more clear. To stand for. In a representation you are standing for a particular sector, particular group or a class. Or to substitute, even to substitute. In one way or other you are substituting, but even a term can substitute the whole thing. You can have the idea of the term. For as in this sentence, that crows, you just see crows. When you talk about crows, it's an example given here. You have cross, once you talk about cross, of course that object comes to your mind, or at least crucifixion. This is the way symbols work out. We studied symbolism and how then you came to notice down how one symbol can represent, or one symbol can stand for something different entirely. Sometimes it's a concept that immediately comes to our mind. Sometimes it is just about even then there is no much connection. But once you have a word, once you hear a word, it may have a lot of ideas connected with that coming to you. So cross inherently leads to crucifixion, the idea of crucifixion, or just about that object cross you see on the on that chain they use. Even Christianity itself represents, everywhere they have this cross, wooden or metal cross, that also comes to your mind. Okay, so in Christianity, suffering of the Christ, even that can be represented in just one word. So this is the way one word can represent or lead you to different ideas altogether. So that is first part of the theories of representation. We talk in the context of this essay. Obviously the words and the way they represent something, of course sometimes meaning or ideas, and we will come to the deeper level once we go along. Okay, so it is with the systems of representation, all sorts of objects, people and events are correlated with a set of concepts or mental representation. So what is happening when you are having a word or a meaning or a phrase, an expression? You have a mental concept, a representation immediately coming to your mind. That's why I told you, if you are aware of the meaning, of course many ideas can come to your mind. Okay, it's not also when you hear the word girl or child. Okay, just think about the word child. The child, the image of the child that comes to one person's mind may not be the image of the child that comes to another person, because you immediately, when you hear the word child, immediately each person thinks about the favorite child you have come across in the recent years, or some of you might be led to the childhood image of your own, or you are having a child at your home, just maybe for example your immediate relatives children, or your niece or nephew. So then you are reminded of that image. There is no one child that can represent or that can occur as a mental image to all of you uniquely. No, it differs, but of course we know the term, the meaning, so that of course you have a concept or mental representation immediately coming to your mind. Will you ever think about a monster when I talk about a child? No. Of course you have images only connected with the particular term and its meaning. That is why they talk about mental representation. You are having a mental representation immediately in connection with the concept. So with the concept of the immediate meaning of the word. Okay. So that is again those concepts are we carry it around in our heads. What does it mean? Of course the condition that I told you. If you know the meaning, only then you can have an image. Sometimes a concept involved in a word you may be aware of. The concept, the mental representation may be available, but you do not know the meaning of the word. Then this representation doesn't come. So that if someone gets you that meaning, again you come back to a mental representation. That is a concept you get immediately. That is how this understanding, you talk about grasping, understanding in that sense. That is why all these explanation, everything is needed, because some terms, if you join for a BA degree course, You may not be able to read and understand everything, every poem, every short fiction just at one reading. So you get class. You get classes, explanation, lectures on the same. Teacher gets you meanings of difficult words, so that you can connect the whole. And that's what you call the plot of the story or the theme of the poem. All these are, we are trying to grasp things. So the same thing happens in a meaning, the context of your analyzing meaning or understanding meaning. That is the first case. Okay, without them we could not interpret the word meaningfully at all. Just think about a situation where you do not have any mental representation. Nothing comes to your mind. That's it. I talk to you, you talk to me, you talk to your friends, but nothing makes sense because you do not know, you do not understand anything. Just think about, you do not know a language. Say Chinese, French, some of the languages which we do not even know single word of the same. So that a person may be talking at great length from morning to evening, but you will not understand anything. So that is that makes the necessity of this mental representation. At least that should be there for our understanding. Okay. So in the first place, the meaning depends on the system of concepts and images formed in our thoughts. So obviously, this meaning that we get obviously depends on the system of concepts and images formed in our thoughts. You see, system of concepts and images. Concept is there and you have an image immediately coming to your mind. Just think about the example of child. When I tell about a child, the image comes to your mind. Just think about the word for child is uttered to you by a person belonging to some other nationality and the language that you are not aware of, you are not familiar with. So obviously the image doesn't come to you because you do not know what he means there or what she means there. So mental representation is obstructed there and you fail to get the meaning. Okay. So that can stand for represent the word already told, enabling us to refer to think both inside and outside our heads. So this is it. It's not about you have watched all these events, all these phenomena. At least somewhere we come across some of these ideas, concepts, and when you have the word uttered by a person and if you are aware of the meaning, so you get the point clear. Okay. So this is what is happening in our theories of representation. First part talks about the same matter. It's about an immediate representation or at least a concept and the mental representation you have with the words, the meanings you are aware of. Of course that is happening. We do not even realize. Sometimes we do not realize. That image comes to you. You do not volunteer. It's almost voluntary process. Always this happens. But we are not aware whether that image came to my mind, whether that image didn't come to, or whether the image came to my mind is better or worse or the best or whatever. You do not think, but it happens. Otherwise, there is no point in talking about meaning. Only when you think about this language that you do not know, you will get this point clear. Okay. So even though that language, an unfamiliar language, talks about a thing that you know, you cannot even have a mental representation. So there is no point in your understanding or meaning or idea getting carried. So that is the way representation and these concept, mental representation, all points make a kind of sense in our getting meaning or the communication process. Language is ultimately it is about communication. So if you without this representation and the proper taking that for granted, there is no point in our talking about meaning at all. Okay, so that's all with that part, and we will come to system 1 and system 2 later, next. Okay. Okay, so system. Now let us talk about two systems of this representation. Theories of representation. We have to talk about system 1 and system 2. When I talk about system 1, system 2, you may feel that this is very tough or something like scientific. No, it's a very familiar part which we make it in an arranged manner. So first one, let me talk about conceptual map. Already given, the idea is already given. Conceptual maps differ in different persons. Are you unfamiliar with that idea? The very same example that I gave to you. Yes. Okay, roll number 1 thinks about when you hear the term child. Very familiar child or a favorite child of yours comes to your mind, the image of that child. Roll number 2 thinks about the child who is immediately connected with him or her in that way. So this is the way in different persons the conceptual maps differ. Is there any doubt about that? No, it's very simple. So people belonging to common culture may be sharing same shared meanings. That is very important matter. See, shared meanings. Certain cultures, certain people belonging to certain cultures may have shared meanings. Not just one word and its meanings come to our discussion or in our daily life conversation. Sometimes it is about understanding a phrase, understanding a whole, or evolving the meaning of a whole sentence or whole paragraph structure. Our conversations do not end up just in words or broken sentences. Sometimes it is a whole speech. And how a particular community of people who are having a shared existence, togetherness, they may get a meaning in a particular way. It's not just about regional. Okay, so some people belonging to a particular politics, they take one sentence in one particular way. Others take it in another entirely different way. That is how you have these heated discussions or all these interpretations and misinterpretations coming out whenever a political person opens up his or her mouth. He says that he sticks on to the idea that, oh no, I didn't mean at all, I didn't mean that at all, I meant it in this way. Others tell that, no, you meant that, and it is very problematic. So this is the, and a group of people who also support the person may have, oh yeah, he meant only that. But others may go on making problem telling, no. So this is what I mean by shared meaning. It's a very silly example that I gave you, but in meanings also some people feel like, see, even in dialects and all, this happens. Our dialects, we know how dialects work out. Kannur dialect, Trivandrum dialect, Malayalam, the different versions, we know how dialects are different. And some people may not understand anything when you talk about some common usage, even though all of you are Malayalis. All of you belong to Kerala, and all of you have Malayalam as our native, our mother tongue. Still, there are people who cannot understand the meaning as the way you mean it. The words, the meanings, you give a word this meaning, and they take it in an entirely different manner. I'll get you a very simple example in Malayalam context. Chaduga. What is chaduga for us? Namakanda chaduga nu parnal, we use that for throwing away. Kalayuga ennulladinu nammal adu use cheyum. Other Trivandrum people, they have chaduga only for jumping. So that we talk about throwing the leaf after taking food. They make fun of us because they never know the concept of this chaduga with the throwing away, but only with the jumping. See, shared meanings differ. It's not because they are not Malayalis, but the way they take that meaning, immediately only that meaning comes to them. So that's what you mean by shared meaning. So of course people belonging to Trivandrum side, may have a shared meaning for that word, but we people belonging to Kannur commonly use it and we never understand why these people are laughing at us. So this happens in hostels and all. And this is obviously a lively example that I took from my mother's college days. These people, all of them sitting together for lunch, and she used to talk about this as a very funny incident. See, these people were talking about after lunch, after taking lunch together, they were talking about see, what are they talking? This is the way these people were talking. Those people belonging to another part of the Kerala, another part of our own state. Okay. So shared meaning, system 1, it is about conceptual map, and you know what is told, that is all with that conceptual map, the sentence conceptual map. System 2, it's termed as language, and see, signs are organized into language. Signs, S-I-G-N-S, signs. Not the way. See, sign, basically we sign, you sign here. That means that sign represents you. It talks about your presence or your conscious effort there. Yeah, I have understood and signed this. You sign declaration, we sign your certificates. So that, yeah, that was, I have read this and this and this, such and such matter is, yes, fine, about this person. This is how we sign that. Right. So signs are organized, but here signs that has even more better signification when you talk about language. It's not just about the signature that you put. This sign is very different. Okay, organized into language. It is this existence of common language which enables us to translate our thoughts. Now it is about words, as our thoughts into words. That is what is told. Now it is about our translating some languages we do not know, and we know, of course, intermediate translators who can help us. You know one language, the other one knows only another language. You do not have a common language between you, so the communication is cut there. So another person, a mediator comes who knows both languages. This happens, and the person can translate it for you. So language, that system of signs, and here sounds or images, and then use this operating as a language to express meanings and communicate thoughts to other people. So basically we have to communicate our thoughts, right? Yes, but here sometimes we find it difficult because we do not know a language. The other person whom we want to communicate also doesn't know a language, know our language. Common language is not there, and then you can adopt a translator. In any case, you are trying to get the meanings of the things we talk, we represent, all those. So this is the systems. These two systems make this representation possible. One is about the conceptual map, and the other is about basically about language. And if you are lacking a common language, then you can adopt method of translation even. Okay, but as a whole, that part is over there. As a whole, what is told in this session? Theories of representation. The whole idea is about you have a word, you have the meaning, some concepts coming to your mind. Okay, a mental representation coming to you, so you get the meaning. If you are familiar with the language. If you are not familiar with the language, then you can go for a translated version. Then also the same process happens of the attempt on your part to get the meaning. That's all. So just think about this part. It's very simple. Nothing is told which is not at all familiar to you. These things are familiar, but it's just about our taking and organizing these. We have been doing this, conceptual representation, having a concept, mental representation for some words, meanings, all these years. Whenever the point at which we started using a language, all these processes have been happening. What is happening when you demand for a Malayalam explanation in our class? Sometimes you tell, yeah, some Malayalam explanation is needed. Of course, we even in our classes sometimes we have to talk about, because the things are better understood when we talk about these in our own language. Sometimes we have to shift, and the same thing happens there. It's ultimately it's about the representation words can do and our understanding the meaning. So how meaning can be we can get meanings in representative format. Okay, and then yeah, next part is about 3 theories of representation. Hope that also can be no, sorry, wait, let us see. So next part is about 3 theories of representation, which we will do later, because it's a lengthy one, and I'm going to the last part, which is a separate chapter, separate concept, separate idea, which you are already aware of, which you are already familiar with. 2 kinds of language study. As it comes as part of this essay, we will have to discuss. Otherwise, you studied it already in your History of English Language paper. You might have introduced to this part, this concept in your History of English Language paper. Don't worry, the connection is not lost. 3 theories of representation. Please go back to the ideas that I gave you today, so that the theories of representation we will talk in the next session. Okay, as it is a lengthy one. Now it is just about synchronic and diachronic study of language. We have already some 10 minutes or 15 minutes remaining, so I just opt for this, that's all. So synchronic study as a structural in synchronic and diachronic study, the way language can be studied, the 2 ways in which any language can be studied. One is about the synchronic study. What is it? It is about the study of language as a system existing at a particular point of time. As a particular point of time, the language, the features or any other aspects of that you study at a particular point of time. Yeah, today's language, the modern English, even modern English if you talk, it's not just today or tomorrow, but immediately you select a time period and you talk about that language as that language and its features at that time. Why does it become important? It is, you know how language is an evolving one. It's not very stagnant, or it's not very stable. You know this because we have semantic changes. How different meanings can be there even during this time period, during a particular time period, this word had this meaning, and semantic changes occurred years after years, and that meaning is not there. That's why we have archaic words. So synchronic study is important. Synchronic study becomes important because of this matter. At a particular point, this language is this, the system is this. Okay, so synchronic. So how it is different from diachronic study? Diachronic study is it's a study of the changes of a language in the course of time. Actually, history of English language, you are doing this. What was English, the features of that language during Old English, then how it became Middle English, how it came to Middle English, and what are the changes. So this is a course of that language process, the changes over a period. That is about the process in the shift or the changes you are studying. But other one is about the language, a particular language that you select to study, and its features at a definite point. Say for example, you can talk about modern English, then what is it, or in 2020 where it stands, what are the meanings, newly added meanings you can talk about. See, sometimes in an Oxford dictionary, that is the dictionary that I'm talking about English language. Oxford dictionary is the ultimate and authentic one that we prefer in our reference for English words and meanings. Even after edition, they add many new words. How does it happen? How does it happen? Because language is not stable. It is added, there is some differences, newly added words. All these we have to take it into account when you are studying a language. But that can be done in two ways. One is about just particular point of time, but the other is about the whole history you are taking. Otherwise, it's diachronic study that is happening. Otherwise, we do not even have to talk about Old English, Middle English. Why should we talk about all those inflections, the word change, the changes in meanings, semantic changes, grammatical shifts? All those you are introduced with. Actually, is it relevant in our daily life usage of the language? No. Do you ever think about the grammatical system, differences in grammatical system between Old English and our present English while speaking? No. We are not even bothered about our modern English grammar. Then you are talking about that Old English grammar, right? So this is the way. It's not actually very relevant for our main purpose of the language even. But as a student of language, and literature, you are introduced with that kind of a method also of approaching language. That's all. So that this is a different part. This is the last part of this essay. As I dealt with this today, we can discuss the main part, the three theories of representation in the next session, and we will wind up, we will be probably we will be able to wind up that essay as well in one more session. There's the three theories of representation. I will get you the three words here: reflective, intentional, constructivist or constitutional. Constructivist. Don't worry, we will talk about that later. Okay, and the main concepts, all those come under this. For that we need this note. I will send you the note and then we will have the entire discussion on that. Okay, otherwise sometimes these terms when used here one after another, you will be maybe confused. As we are not using the essay as such, we may have confusion. That's all. Okay, yes, bye. So for this day, today we can wind up the session. Thank you.